Joker 2 has made the first movie even worse. And I liked the first movie, I think many did. I think the slow descent into Arthur Fleck's madness was well put together, alongside, say, the iconic talk show scene, and where Murray becomes, well, owned.
Get what you deserve!
I mean, you know it's bad when Warner Brothers declined to test screen Joker 2 to audiences at all before the film was complete. Yeah, Warner Brothers even knew it was gonna suck. Here's the thing about the first Joker, however, there was a lot of controversy surrounding it, mostly by the media. I remember when the movie was coming out, there were fears that there was going to be an incident at one of the movie showings, and where violence was supposedly going to happen. There were a lot of fears. I mean, there were undercover police officers in theaters, and after all that fear-mongering was done, at the end of the day, nothing happened. Besides the fact that the movie definitely garnered a very controversial reputation after it released. People argue that it's a big celebration of incel culture, which I disagree. I think the movie is actually like a rejection to it, and saying how it's basically all insane. I mean, it's definitely a commentary on society, but I think by the end of the movie, we're left horrified at Joker rather than being like, God, he's awesome. This is where I think things start to go wrong. The message of Joker has been misconstrued over the past 5 years, to a point where it feels like Joker 2 is a way for the director of the movie, Todd Phillips, to apologize for Joker 1, but with a twist of doing it through dance and song for whatever reason. I guess they really have to use Lady Gaga to some degree, right? I feel like Todd Phillips doesn't want to be viewed as a bad guy, so he tries to appeal to the other side of people who already hated the first film by trying to rip the first one into shreds, by recounting it in the second film in some of the most boring ways possible. It's crazy because Todd Phillips has made sequels before. He made The Hangover Parts 1 through 3. That's always a fun fact to tell, but it's crazy to me because I actually like The Hangover Part 2 more than The Joker 2. At least I was actually having fun and wasn't waiting in the theater for 2.5 hours, constantly checking my watch. I mean, if I had to give the film any compliments whatsoever, I would say that the movie, much like the first one, looks very visually beautiful. There's a haunting hopelessness that really captures the essence of the first film, and I think visually that is carried over here for the second one. That's where the compliments stop, however. The story is where this all falls apart. Phillips leans heavily on his usual muse, Martin Scorsese, but this time, instead of riffing on Scorsese's finest works like Taxi Driver or The King of Comedy, he seemingly chooses New York, New York. One of like 3 Scorsese movies I'd actually consider as bad. Imagine the first movie, but it's duller, misguided, and while a shot-for-shot remake might have been excusable, the awkward original twists and spins Phillips tries to add make it much worse. The film was boring, mind-numbingly painfully boring. I can't stress how tedious it feels to sit through. Gone is the tension of psychological complexity of the first film, leaving behind a movie that just drags on without purpose. It's hard to believe this was intended as a sequel to Joker, a movie that has a fairly great deal of visceral, thought-provoking moments. And then there's Lady Gaga, who is decently cast, if not for the role of just being part of a musical. She loves the idea of Joker, but doesn't like when Joker is Arthur, which is, I guess, spoilers. I mean, I don't know how much you guys care about it because this movie sucks anyways. But after the character development of the first film, Joker is left to be Arthur again for much of the second film. There are aspects when Joker is Joker, but that's only to really like tap dance and then sing randomly in like the most awkward and disjointed way possible. It's very perplexing. But here's the thing, he does become Joker again, but it's taken away in probably the worst way imaginable. In one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in like movie history. The movie makes a highly questionable creative choice by containing a scene where the Joker gets assaulted. It's just incredibly unnecessary, almost as if like the film is desperate to try and keep the audience's attention, because Todd Phillips knows deep down that this movie won't be able to keep its attention. It throws in a cheap, vile scene that does nothing but highlight his failure as an artist and as a storyteller. What's crazier is that after this scene, Joker stops being Joker and becomes Arthur yet again. Would you think this would make Joker like, I don't know, like want to kill the people who did this to him? Which I guess would have made sense in a storytelling aspect, but I guess Todd Phillips is too lazy to try and continue Joker exploits because he's afraid of any backlash of what Joker may do after the first film, so it's kind of just like, okay. It's like nothing happens. The people who did this to Joker don't get like a comeuppance. It happens, that's it. Going back to Lady Gaga, she's wasted. After a promising start in the first 40 minutes, her character is sidelined as the movie becomes a retread of the original Joker, which it tells again via dual courtroom scenes that are frankly unnecessary. Then a bomb explodes in the courtroom scene, which I guess kind of makes it interesting, but is pretty random. Gaga's charisma and energy could have elevated the film, but instead, she ends up as an afterthought. A laughably huge missed opportunity. Todd Phillips is not going to be working with Lady Gaga level talent for years after this. We know this because this movie, in terms of history, will go down as one of the worst sequels of all time. Even if you hated the first movie and you were hoping for some like big middle finger towards the first one, you don't really get that here. Instead, the movie kind of hates you as well. And listen, I get you guys who don't like the first movie. You're kind of hoping the second one's like a big like, who cares, right? Let's just throw the entire thing out the window. And that's how I felt when I saw the last Star Wars movie in the new trilogy. At that point, I was kind of just like, I don't care anymore. And although many audience goers really hate The Rise of Skywalker, I kind of find it to be this beautiful train wreck of a movie where it's just like, who cares anymore? The entire thing's already ruined. Might as well just bring Palpatine back for whatever reason. Have as many effects as possible, especially in the final climax of the film, where nothing really means anything. Remember when Chewbacca, like, fake died? Oh wait, he's not actually dead? Okay, I guess they fly now, cause they fly now.
They fly now! They fly now? They fly now!
I like The Rise of Skywalker in a twisted way because it just gives up. The thing with Joker 2 is that it actually tries, in the worst way possible. It tries to apologize for the first movie for being, I guess, offensive by making the second movie even more offensive. The second Joker movie thinks it's smart, but really it's not. Not only are we disrespecting the fans of the first movie, we're also disrespecting the people who hated the first movie even more, by making them shift through a boring melodrama, which in the end, I guess the character they really hate dies, but he dies at the hands of people who are also pretty bad, who end up winning at the end of the day, and just, I guess, continue on to be assholes? Oh, if you want to see the audience reactions? Oh my god, it's sad, dude. This guy on Twitter states this: people were walking out of my theater showing of Joker 2. I was genuinely shocked and troubled by how many people left the theater during various points of this movie. How do you fumble the greatest villain of all time? Only DC, I swear. Crying emoji. Such a disappointment, it hurts my diehard DC heart. Oh, and if you look at his entire Twitter too, it's so sad, dude. It goes on and on. Something that is encouraging is that when it comes to the audience and critic scores for Joker 2 on Rotten Tomatoes, they are almost exactly the same at 37% and 39.7% respectively. The elitists and the people could truly come together sometimes, guys. And ironically enough, if there's Joker, or the elitists are the so-called enemy, where that could be possible again. Throughout all the controversy that the first movie created, the second film has people in unison screaming how terrible it is. One last thing, one last spoiler, I mean. So, at the end of Joker 2, it's established that he dies, you know, he goes away. But he dies to his most famous line: you get what you deserve. In my mind, I see this as a direct correlation to Todd Phillips, rejecting the first movie, rejecting the incel crowd that may have been obtained via that movie, and saying that they get what they deserve, by Todd Phillips basically insulting the fans of that film, despite the fact that I would argue most of those fans, no, for sure most of those fans, weren't incels. They just enjoyed the film and the descent into madness, as they thought it was like a true character study of the Joker. At the end of the day, we have to see how successful this movie is. And judging by the early box office returns, which includes Joker 2 opening with 7 million domestic previews, almost 50% less than the first film's previews, and now what seems to be only earning 50 million in the film's domestic opening weekend, with the budget being 200 million? Well, Todd Phillips, it's true. You, by all means, get what you deserve. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later.